Hi, I'm Heather Varon, the coordinator for early childhood for Keller ISD, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to interview for the Region 11 early childhood coordinator position. When I'm coaching teachers, I like to use the Jim Knight model, where it is a cyclical approach, very similar to a plan, do, study, act, and it's a repetitive process. While you're building a relationship with that teacher, it's not just a one time that you coach them and it's over. It's a multi-step process, and the first step that I like to begin with is praise. So in this situation, I would begin by asking the teacher what she thinks went well with her lesson. Once I elicited a response from her, I would respond in kind, and then I would give some feedback or my opinion about a celebration that went well. In this case, I would praise the question that she used, the last question, would you like to live in this habitat? I know this is a yes or no question, and we can expand on that later, but I'd like to praise the fact that it's a nonfiction text, and she's getting her students to think beyond the text, like Fontes and Pinnell encourage us to do. Once we've talked about what went well with the lesson, I'd like to probe that teacher and ask her a question, with the scenario. You've been working on student engagement. I see you asked several questions. Many students wanted to answer. How do you feel that went? And see what her response is. Now, Jim Knight says that teachers don't know what they don't know. And his best response to this is teachers should video themselves before they're coached. And it doesn't seem like we did that in this situation, and it's definitely not always possible, and sometimes it's not even built into the model that you're using. So in this case, we would talk about how she felt her students were engaged. I would go ahead and point out to her and I would say, one thing I noticed was that one student was able to answer each question. What if we could increase the participation of students to 100%? Would you want to try that? And hopefully I could get her to buy into that. And I would introduce the strategy to her called talking partners. It's also called AB partners, another clever name, milk and cookie partners, and I prefer the term PB and J partners. Once the teacher assigns them, the students can practice talking, and then everyone gets a chance to talk, and the student engagement increases to 100%. And in a high-quality pre-K classroom, we want students talking and developing that language and that vocabulary. Once we've identified that strategy, I would practice with the teacher. I would say, okay, I'm going to be peanut butter, you be jelly, and we'll use your question, would you want to live there? And the only thing I would add to that question is a why or why not. That way the students are using more words and it's not just a yes or no question. And so I would practice with the teacher, I would answer, and then I would let her answer. I would talk to the teacher about, this takes practice. This strategy isn't something the students just learn overnight. You have to practice it over and over. It's best to practice in the beginning with non-content. So you can do this like in morning meeting, during your mindful meetings. You can have the students talk to each other about, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what did they do over the weekend, what did they do last night. It only takes a minute or two to practice that. Once you've assigned partners, you can post the names and the pictures of the partners near the carpet. They can sit next to each other. That way they always know where their partners are and who their partner is, and it doesn't waste time in transition. Some common pitfalls that I would explain to the teacher would be to plan ahead and teach the students, what do you do if your partner is absent? I've already mentioned having students sit in the same spot so you don't lose teaching time through that transition. And I would keep the partners the same all year. That's a tip from Lucy Calkins at the Teacher College. That way the students get to know each other. At the end, I would leave the teacher with an artifact called Talking Partners. That way she could remember the strategy and take it back with her, and it makes her a little accountable. And then I would plan with the teacher to meet back with her in a week. I would want to visit and see how it's going in her classroom, whether it's content related or not. And then I'd like to debrief with her afterwards. And then we would start the process all over again. Thank you.